Welcome back to another exciting episode of Nintendo Power, and today I'm going to be looking at a very special issue that I've never actually read before. And that's actually the only reason why it's a special issue, because I've never read it. I don't really know anything about this issue. I don't know what's going to be covered in it. But safe to say that it's going to be a fun time. So yeah, let's take a look at the table of contents here. We've got Felix the Cat for the NES. We've got Soul Blazer for the Super NES, because the Super NES is in full swing at this point, which is pretty cool. And oh, here's something interesting in Player's Pulse. Mega Man Needs Your Help. So it looks like this is the beginning of the Nintendo Power Robot Master Design Contest. Where would you play your Game Boy? Like, if you could play your Game Boy anywhere, where would you play it? Anywhere in space or time. This guy says, I'd play it on the sun, in a garbage truck, in a junkyard, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
What?
In the center of the Earth, or when I'm going off a 700-mile high dive. I mean, more power to you, but you let off with the sun, and you can't top that. It's like you'd play on the sun, and then you'd play in a garbage truck. What? I'd build a time machine, go back to 20,000 BC, and show all the prehistoric people how to have fun Nintendo style. If you went back to 20,000 BC with a time machine and showed the prehistoric people a Game Boy, they would think that you were some sort of god sorcerer. Human history, everything that exists in our world would be completely different because of this gentleman, Laurice Miller from Kansas. We have statues everywhere of the God Emperor holding his Game Boy. Let's see what else we have here. This guy right here, this is something he actually did. So he's not just saying this is, something I'd like to do. He actually did this. He actually walked the walk. True story. I have played my Game Boy in a pool and in a bathtub. I put it in a Ziploc bag and made sure, in all caps, the zipper was closed. It worked perfectly, but I couldn't hear the awesome music. This guy says, I'd play in front of 4 TVs. I'd play Game Boy with one hand and use my other hand to control my NES and Super NES controllers, and run on the power pad while watching my favorite TV programs, Captain N and Super Mario Brothers. He's really into Nintendo, that guy. Interestingly enough, that's kind of what a lot of people just do by default now. They'll have like their laptop, playing a show or YouTube or something, while they're playing video games, so they have something to listen to, and they'll have their phone over here. Maybe they got a game going on that, that requires minimal input. I know I've done some of that myself, just do a bunch of things at once. In any case, here's Felix the Cat. This is a show that I never watched as a kid. Don't know anything about it, but it was really popular. I remember a lot of kids talking about it. I do like this part right here. It says, power up your pussycat.
He actually worked for GameStop in the horror stories.
It's interesting how pretty much all the action games from this time frame, like all the platformers, borrowed fairly liberally from the Super Mario Brothers games. And you can see right here, the first world is your typical grasslands level. It looks just like the beginning of Super Mario Brothers. Funny story about Felix the Cat. One time in like 4th or 5th, I think it was 4th grade. Yeah, it was 4th grade. There was this like 6th grader named Felix, and he was this big badass. And a lot of people were afraid of Felix. I had no idea who he was. I didn't know his reputation or anything. I was in 4th grade, and I wasn't afraid of anybody. One time I bumped into Felix in the hallway, and he just like made fun of me or something, because that's what he did. He would just go around kind of like bully everybody. And instead of just like taking it, I actually bullied him back, even though he was bigger than me. I don't know, I called him something or something like that. And surprisingly, he just kind of went about his business. He could have come over and thrown me against the wall if he wanted to. But instead, he just went about his business, just left me alone, which was weird. And this other kid saw this happen, and he came over to me. He's like, "What are you doing? That was Felix." And I looked at him, I was like, "Who's Felix? I don't know who that is." I was like, "Might as well be Felix the Cat." And I said that really loud so that Felix could hear it. I was like, "Felix the Cat." And the guy still didn't come back over and like knock me out. By all rights, I should have gotten like roughed up that day. Anyway, moving on. We've got Prince of Persia with an extremely menacing dude here with a knife. So moving on, we've got Lil Samson. Don't know. It's got some cool bosses though. There's a dragon. And man, all these stages, they're really distinct. You know, I feel like action games during this time frame really did follow a formula, but it was a good formula. You know, you got the palace level, the volcano level, the mountain level, the waterfall level, the swamp. The Zelda comics. Chapter 9. Wow, we are in the 9th month of Zelda comics. I can't wait to revisit some of the earlier issues that have these Zelda comics because they're awesome. And once I have all of them, I'm just going to go through and read them in order. You know, I'm really looking forward to that. I think I'm only missing maybe 2 or 3 of them at this point. Pretty sure it ran for 12 issues. I might do a special episode just for that, actually. Just a special, comic episode. It looks like Link is in the second Dark World Palace here. He's in the Water Palace, or the Swamp Palace, whatever it's called. The one with the waterfalls. And yeah, and there's that weird kind of eye boss at the end, which is what I think this is supposed to be. But it looks more like some kind of Cthulhu monster. It's got like tentacles and stuff. Okay, this is weird. So this episode covers the 2nd and the 6th Dark World dungeons, the Swamp Palace and Misery Mire. So that's kind of an odd combination. And it doesn't really cover the palaces so much as it just kind of loosely interprets the two of them. And he gets rescued by a Zora. Now, I want you kids to look at this. This is what the Zora originally looked like. They were these weird fishmen. They were not svelte, pretty, shiny, sexy, naked blue people like they are in later Zelda games. Dr. Franken. No relation to Senator Al Franken. Very cool guy, Senator Al Franken. This kind of thing actually does necessitate maps, I think. Kingdom, Crusade. The Kingdom for a Game Boy, yeah. Here we are with the verbiage. If chess were truly a battleground with mountains, castles, forests, and combating armies. You know, that kind of language. Oh wow, look at this. We've got like a character select, and there's like a bunch of different characters in this game. I have never heard of Kingdom Crusade. I've never even like heard the name Kingdom Crusade. You got the Paladin, the Giant. This is kind of cool, actually. Oh, here we go. Game of the Year edition, Barbie Game Girl. This comic is a lot of fun. It's incredibly colorful. Look at the Koopalings. Look how cool these guys are.
You did. Look, I've talked before in the past how GameStop's profits are dwindling and they're...
Yoshi. I mean, just so many primary colors here. It's so much fun and really makes you want to play Mario. I'll say that much. I'll do an episode for the Mario comics as well. This episode seems to be Mario and Luigi in a ghost house. And here they are being chased by the Big Boo, who is actually a hidden boss in Super Mario World. But in any case, Counselor's Corner is pretty much Zelda Corner this month. We've got Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. We've got the Swamp Palace. We've got some interesting stuff here. Staff of Burna. Really makes you want to play these games. But yeah, I'd see just the waterfall, which it would just make everything look really magical. Here's a good one, Dragon Warrior 3. This little spot right here will get you from like level 10 to level 30 at a very early point in the game. That's really good to know. I don't think I'm ever actually going to play Dragon Warrior 3 again because I've played it to death and I've covered it on my blog in like every form possible. But this is really good to know, and on the off chance that I do. Final Fantasy 1 has a similar little trick where there's a part of the world map that has higher level enemies. Okay, this week in Nestor's Adventures, he is flying in World War I. He has a dogfight with a German pilot. Okay. And here we've got a poster for Spider-Man and Carnage. I don't believe this is a poster for Maximum Carnage because Maximum Carnage was not announced for, I think, a couple of years after this. Soul Blazer, a lot of people don't know this, is the prequel to Illusion of Gaia. Illusion of Gaia, one of the most beloved Super NES games. But yeah, this game, it plays virtually just like Illusion of Gaia, but it's a little bit simpler, and you have this weird orb rotating around you for the entire game. We've got some interesting bosses here. The first boss is Metal Mantis. That is actually the optional post-game boss in Illusion of Gaia. There's like a post-game dungeon that you can do that's really tough, and you fight this guy at the end of it. I love the way Nintendo Power has these little pictures of items and weapons explaining what they are, explaining the Mystic Armor makes you invincible for a short time. Very cool. Here's Clue. Clue for the Super NES. See, I loved Clue, the actual board game. So this might be something I should check out at some point. Clue for the Super NES. I didn't even know that was a thing. Monopoly. Monopoly for the Super NES. Wow. And Super Bowling. Super Bowling is actually pretty cool because it has like enemy bowlers that have their own personalities and stuff. Definitely a little bit of Punch-Out inspiration there. You know, how Punch-Out would have, you know, your adversaries with their own distinct personalities. I think more sports-type games should have that. Oh, here we go. Hang out with the Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff. Okay, awesome. Gonna get a close-up shot of those guys. Now playing. This would be very controversial to happen now because it's literally just opinions. Some of their opinions are actually pretty funny though, like the Jetsons robot panic. Rob asks, why do they always put a female in the mall? Let me put this in context. Apparently Jane rockets through the shopping level of the game and he wonders why is the female character always in the mall. And he says, I think Jane should be blasting aliens with a flamethrower like Ripley from Alien 3. I prefer Ripley from Aliens, personally, but good point. Alright, NES. We got Super Mario on top on the NES charts. We've got Zelda, A Link to the Past, on top of the Super NES charts. And we've got Metroid 2 on top of the Game Boy charts. So, look at that. Nintendo's top 3 franchises, as of that point, holding it down on top of all 3 system charts. This month's celebrity player profile is Tim Allen. Pack Watch coming up soon. We've got Super Star Wars, which, man, this game was amazing for its time. A huge leap for the Star Wars, the gaming wing of the Star Wars franchise. Also coming up, Dragon Warrior 4. It's coming out in the next month or so. Wow. I've actually always been surprised that Dragon Warrior 4 was on the NES because it was well into the Super NES's life at that point. In the distant future, we've got Ogre Battle being developed in Japan. Looks pretty cool. Here we've got the 5, count them, 5 player's guides that currently exist as of September 1992. So we've got the Game Atlas, the NES Game Atlas rather, the Game Boy Guide, Mario Mania, which is essentially a Super Mario World player's guide with that also has coverage of the other Mario games. I believe I might have that one. I might do an episode on that at some point. The Super NES player's guide, and finally, the Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past player's guide, which looks extremely enticing from this picture here. Who knew that green and gold looked so good together? This 168-page guide is available now in 2017 on Amazon.com. But at this point in time, man, this looks like a must-have right here. And yeah, that does it for the September 92 issue of Nintendo Power. Here's a quick look at the Nintendo All-Stars. You got the Game Boy, the NES, and the Super NES. Look at that. 3 very retro boxes right there. Very cool. And yeah, that does it for today's episode of Nintendo Power. So it was a fun time. It was a rare issue that I've never seen before, never had a chance to read before today. And I believe this is the first time that I have read an issue for the first time live for you guys. So I might not have had as much to say as I usually do about the issue itself, but it was fun to read through it and kind of talk to you guys. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.